afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us on this latest of our soundtrack to success. And I'm delighted that this afternoon our guest is Gary Hibberd. Some of you may well know Gary for his what he does around the security side of things. But I should let Gary do a quick introduction, and then we can have a bit of a natter around his music choice. So, Gary, thanks for your time today and joining me. I really appreciate it. For those who don't know you, do you want to give everyone a bit of an overview of you and what it is you do with your business?
Sure, thank you. No, thanks for asking me. What do I do? So I'm a cybersecurity consultant, a specialist in this area. But what I do is I help organizations be safe and be able to gain benefit from working in our digital universe. And I've done this for a good 20 plus years. So I've helped in information security, cybersecurity, data protection, all of those topics which people either love or loathe. I take all that boring stuff away from you and I make it easy so that you can get on with your day jobs and still be able to go to bed at night knowing your business is protected and wake up in the morning and it's still the same.
Yeah, and I guess it's one of those things, isn't it, that we don't always think about. And this past sort of 12 months has really highlighted the fact that we do need to be careful what we do when it comes to security and cyber and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when I go to schools and I speak to children and such and parents and teachers, and I ask the kids, anybody going into a career in cyber, and typically you might get one hand going up or not. And I always respond with, you're all going into a career in cyber, because there are very few jobs out there now that do not require you to have a good understanding of technology, data protection, cybersecurity, and all of those things, because that's the world in which we inhabit now. Pretty much most modern cars now, you're driving a big computer.
Yeah, that's his. And you're dead right. And I must apologise for anyone who can only bang it outside. My neighbours have a new fence fixed, and that's
this is the wonders of this new world, isn't it? You have to apologise.
Yesterday they were doing this, and there's all sorts of swearing and cursing going on and stuff like that. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're not here to talk about security. We're going to talk about music, which is far more interesting than any of this kind of stuff. So we're going to talk about your love of Iron Maiden and how you kind of got into that.
Okay.
And so yeah, kick us off. So why Iron Maiden?
So I think, like most people, they get their musical taste from their parents, because I think that's where you get your first influence. And for me, it definitely comes from my dad. My dad was a big music fan, and we would listen to all manner of different music. So I would sit on the carpet as he put on albums from everyone from Tammy Wynette through to Queen, through to Meatloaf, in particular Bat Out of Hell, through to Beethoven. And he would mix it up all night long. We wouldn't just listen to Queen all night. We'd go from Queen to then listening to a bit of Elvis or Buddy Holly or something, music that he'd grown up with. And of course, as a kid, you sit there looking through the album sleeves and such, and Meatloaf caught my attention. So it was the artwork that just drew me in. I just loved the art, and I'd copy it and such as a kid, as you do. And then I found myself perusing the albums in the heavy rock section of the local music store, and just came across this band called Iron Maiden, which had some incredible artwork. And Number of the Beast was the album that really just drew me in. And I didn't even really know of Iron Maiden. I'd heard of them. I'd heard that they were a heavy metal band. So I bought this album, with my pocket money, took it home. And for me, the rest is history. I just fell in love with them from that moment on.
Well, that's one of the joys, wasn't it, of flicking through the albums and flicking through stuff in the record, in the album store, and going through and having and Richard relates to this, but flicking through the albums and then getting it out and putting that vinyl on. But yeah. I think it's a really interesting point, the visual thing from the artwork, because it is, isn't it? And I don't know about you, I think that's something we kind of miss. Even CDs were okay. You could have a bit of a flick through a little booklet, but There's nothing better than having a gatefold sleeve, is there, and having a look at it and
I think
realise you've been singing the wrong words.
Yeah, no, I completely. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I still do that.
We still do.
But no, I think you're absolutely spot on. I think, and Iron Maiden are still the only band that I still buy the CDs and DVDs for. Even though I instantly download the music, I still order the physical copy because I like that physicality of it. And as you said, it is the visual aspects of it. It's the artwork. Every tour that Iron Maiden do, the tour reflects the album cover, and the album cover itself reflects the nature of the songs that are on there. So they are a very visual band, and from a marketing point of view, I'm wholly brought into the brand, and support it. And when I go to an Iron Maiden concert, I'm buying 3 or 4 T-shirts at a time, and maybe the program itself. I don't do that if I go and see Andrea Bocelli or someone else, which I do love classical music as well, but I'm buying into the brand as well.
And I think also you'd have probably put a gallon of fuel into Bruce Dickinson's plane then, won't you? Which is completely branded up with with Eddie on it and the rest of it. But it is, when you think about it, it's a real iconic. It is an iconic brand, isn't it?
Well, it's a good point actually you make there about Bruce Dickinson. Bought into the brand. He, as the lead singer, as the leader of that band as well, I've bought into his story as well. So Bruce Dickinson, for anyone who's not aware, he's a pilot, not just a domestic planes. He actually has a day job, believe it or not. He flies Icelandic Airlines and flies people to and from Iceland, which is quite bizarre. But he's also a world-class fencer. He's an author. He's had his own individual music career as well. So, you can only be inspired by someone who fits all of that in, as well as flying Iron Maiden around, not just driving them around in a bus. He flies a 747 plane, jumbo jet around the world and tours the world with them. And you kind of, it's quite kind of inspirational, really.
It is, isn't it? And I think from the fans' perspective, as you were saying that you kind of relate to this, and we relate to it in marketing. There's all these different touch points that they have, but they've absolutely got it nailed spot on, haven't they?
Well,
they really have. Even from the when the big Eddie comes on the stage, you've even gone for a bit of graphics on your body, haven't you? A tattoo with it on.
I have, So I've got I have a Eddie tattoo on my arm, But it is that brand. It is that imagery that first drew me in. When I first went into that, as it was back then, a smoky, music store, shrouded in darkness, and all these scary people, buying albums and whatnot. You are looking at albums that are fairly boring. They are just pictures of people, or the black images or dark images and such. And then you have this bright image of Number of the Beast, this creature. And of course, as a kid anyway, as a young teenager as I was, this is a monster. This is this weird creature. I'm thinking, what is this? So that's what drew me in.
And then did the music live up to the expectation of what you liked? 100%. So it wasn't it wasn't against the blind. You can look at things visually, go, oh, that looks brilliant. You get it back and goes, oh, that sounds absolutely awful. Artwork's great, but the sound's rubbish.
Visually it was fantastic. Number of the Beast. In fact, the Bruce Dickinson had a lot to do with the tracks that were written for Number of the Beast, and he wasn't credited with the writing because there was a lot of issues around the previous singer, and he wasn't credited with it, but they actually changed the sound considerably from the previous 2 albums. So this was the 3rd album that they brought out, and Bruce Dickinson's vocals are just incredible. They are insane. And even today, all these many years later, it's still, there's very few people who could sing Iron Maiden songs because it fits his voice. And, Children of the Damned, Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills. These are songs that have, I think, they're featured in movies, that people just know and love. And so they recognize Run to the Hills, but every album, I'm a true fan. So I recognize they have had some bad albums in the past, but like all great
absolutely
do. You know, they've had their off times,
Yeah,
but no, certainly the early days, you know, incredible.
yeah. And of course, you've seen them a number of times as well, haven't you? As you said, you know, you've been to see him live a few times, and
Yeah, just a few.
just a few. Yeah, again,
Just a
you're
few.
putting more fuel in his playing again, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm definitely putting more fuel in his playing. Yeah, I mean, for Iron Maiden, you know, it is that that thing where you want to see them as many times as you possibly can, especially now because you're not quite sure how much longer they are going to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen them on every single tour that they've done, and I've seen them at least twice on every single tour that they've done. But certainly when I was younger and I had a lot more money and the concert tickets weren't quite as expensive. I saw them back in '88, and I know it's going back a long time, but in '88 I remember that distinctly because that was the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son tour, and I must have seen them in that 1 year probably 6 or 7 times. So you know, yeah, it's probably upwards of 30 plus times I've seen them.
Oh, that's good. And when we were chatting the other day, we were talking about other bands in the similar kind of genre, you know, Metallica and all that kind of stuff, and we realised that we both had quite a liking for Whitesnake.
Yes,
the band I've seen, and they kind of have stood the test of time. Although I'm not sure David Coverdale at times looks a bit odd, but I think you know, their music has continued to carry on as well.
Yeah, completely. And I think, like you say, these singers and these bands know how to put on a show. And I think that's the thing. You know, you mentioned it before. You know, I am quite a visual person. I like to, you know, I like the aesthetics of things, and I like to see things that people have put some effort into. And you know, these shows are 2 or 3 hours long. You know, when you go and see some of these bands. But I'll go and see anyone live, you know, generally speaking, within reason. But I like people to put on a show, which you know, David Coverdale, Whitesnake always does. Metallica, incredible. AC/DC, fantastic. Five Finger Death Punch, which is a more recent band. You know, I love them for the same reasons. Rammstein. I don't know if you've ever come across Rammstein.
No.
So these
are
really
showing my age here, aren't they?
No. The Rammstein have been around for a while, but you know, these guys are they're a German heavy metal band, well known for their flamethrowers.
Right. Okay.
So again, big pyrotechnics, big visuals. Slipknot, these kind of bands are the ones that I just think are amazing.
I mean, that's what it's about, isn't it? Yeah.
You what? Sorry.
It's what it's about, isn't it? It's that visual element, as you say, going there, the whole experience, watching it, doing it, buying into it. It's the whole ethos behind it. Yeah,
and these are the bands, and these are bands that I do listen to at work as well. You know, it's not so much in the office because I think they wouldn't be they wouldn't be happy.
Let's touch on that, because we were talking, weren't we, about the music that you know, you have music on a lot, and you say that some of it makes you type faster. I think that's a great idea. I think I need to think about that one myself. But in terms of, you know, what you do during the, you know, your work, when you're working, you're obviously in you've got to think about a lot of things when it comes to your role and decide. There's a lot going on, isn't there? What kind of stuff do you then kind of put on from that point of view to kind of get your thinking cap on effectively?
Strangely enough, it depends on what I'm doing, but I don't often play Iron Maiden while I'm working because I enjoy it too much and I find myself getting pulled into the music. I have got very wide music tastes, so I do like to listen to EDM. Electronic dance music, or music that is going to be in the background, almost like white noise, but something that I can listen to for, you know, without it distracting me or drawing me out of what I'm focused on. So quite often I'll listen to movie soundtracks. So I will put on something like any of the Avenger movies, usually anything by John Williams, you know, you know, so Star Wars movies and such, but you know, but the Batman movies tend to be, you know, ones that I'll listen to, and things like the Matrix soundtracks, which have a lot of music but then interspersed with a song or two, but I know them so well, you know, that will be like Marilyn Manson, you know, we'll have a couple of tracks in there, so they will come through. Linkin Park, again, you know, great bands that they don't draw me out of the work that I'm doing, but they're just there, and I've listened to them that often that I can generally put on a Linkin Park album, for instance, and have it on loop for about 8 hours and just listen to the same album 8 hours, and it doesn't really affect me. I might suddenly go, oh, it's that song again, or oh, crikey, I've been listening to that for whatever length of time. But yeah, I listen to, I just like something in the background, something that is going to absorb me.
Well, let's just touch on, there's a couple of things you mentioned there, because when we were chatting yesterday, you told me when you were at school, you wanted to be a Jedi. Which I thought was...
that's a bit of a left field sort of comment.
Yeah, but I just wanted to talk to you about the Star Wars and also your training as well, because you're big into the kind of martial arts, aren't you?
Yeah,
which is where I was coming from, that one, because you use that to use music to train to that, and whether people know or not, you're quite well trained, aren't you, in the martial arts side of things?
So you're right. Going back to 1977.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's all right. You've aged me now.
So I know the feeling. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's all right. I don't think there's any secret in it.
No.
So yeah, back in 1977, when I saw Star Wars for the first time, being a typical geek, it wasn't just a case of me just running around playing with lightsabers and such. I just wanted to know everything I could about that movie and about how it had come about. And again, the soundtrack drew me in. So John Williams, that opening score, absolutely incredible. And again, I'm a big Star Wars fan. And but I wanted to know the history and the lore behind it. Lore spelled Lore. So the legend behind it. And it's no secret, George Lucas took a lot of inspiration from samurai, from Japanese movies and such. And of course, you can't help but learn about, the samurai without learning about the ninja. Yeah. So the martial art that the ninja and the samurai perform is Bujinkan Taijutsu. So as soon as I was old enough, I began to learn about ninjas and train in the same way, principally because of the fact I wanted to be a Jedi. I wanted to learn about the ways of the Force, and the ways of the Force, when you're talking about it from a samurai perspective, is all about Zen Buddhism. It's about energies and such like. So over the period of about 16 years, it took me to become a black belt in Taijutsu. And in that time, you learn to train with swords and knives and shuriken stars and a variety of other weapons and such. But there's a lot of mythology and history that you have to learn as well. So it is very much about mind, body, and spirit. And music plays a part in that. Yeah.
So it was all, that was the bit I was trying to get at, because then you're using that music then to help you train to do whatever you like to do. And then
music also for meditation as well, and even active meditation. When I go for a walk and such, I still listen to music, but obviously it tends not to be a heavy rock at that point or heavy metal, but it tends to be something more meditative. But so I do a lot around that as well. And I still train with swords. So I study Iaido, and the great thing about Iaido, it's for anyone who's not aware of what it is, it's all about your relationship with the sword, and it's about how you draw the sword and how you use the sword and different kind of katas and such. But the great thing for me is that I'm one of the youngest ones there.
So. Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So that's great. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
I'm known as the young un.
Is that right?
So that's great.
Crazy, but that's it.
Far better than going to kickboxing and getting my backside beaten by a 15-year-old.
Well, absolutely. But I think also as well, it brings elements of discipline, doesn't it, into it all, and makes you think in a slightly different way, as much as anything else, which you can then transfer into work and all those kind of things.
And I think it is important, especially in this day and age, and bringing it back to what I do, the digital world, the cyber universe in which we all occupy. We are all guilty of having quite often two screens at the same time. So some people will be watching this or listening to this and be doing something on their other device at the same time. as I have often said to people, when you're doing martial arts, you can't be really thinking about other things when someone's flinging a sword at you,
No.
and or throwing a punch at you, or whatever it is. And in the same way with music, it can be completely immersive, and it takes you away from all the digital distraction that we have around us. So it's good for your mind to be able to just disconnect sometimes, whether that be martial arts, or whether that be music, whether that be heavy metal, EDM, classical, whatever it is, country music.
I think it's so important for us to get away from these things. I mean, I've started painting again, and it's just to get me away from looking on the screen. Away from it. You know, I found myself last night, I really want to leave my phone upstairs, because you're flicking on the stuff left, right and centre, aren't you? But it's good to get away from this kind of stuff and get the break in.
Absolutely. And I mean, I know people who do jigsaws, Lego, and drawing and painting and such, for the very same reason. It's just to really be able to absorb. It's that when people say, oh, I can't meditate, I always say to them, well, don't try and sit, you know, it's not, meditation is not about sitting there cross-legged and going you know, meditation can be just something else, you know.
You've changed my illusion of it already. That's great.
Well, there you go. So you see, and I painted a picture for you.
You painted a picture, you see. It's perception, isn't it, of all this kind of stuff. So let's just talk a little bit more, because we were chatting, your wife's into music as well, so it's a very musical household, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, but she's a professional. I mean, I'm not a professional. She's a singer, songwriter, producer. You know, she's so now she does a lot of songwriting and producing of EDM. So, which is one of the reasons why I appreciate it. But she, in her heyday, shall we say, she's sung with and helped produce music with the Spice Girls, Billy Piper, Jive Bunny, if anyone remembers who Jive Bunny were. So the music mix, so the Music Factory down in Sheffield. So she knows people like Elliot Kennedy and you know, people who work with Gary Barlow and Take That and whatnot. And she's been to the Ivan Novello Awards and met, you know, various famous people. Toured with Jane McDonald, sung at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, and been on TV on BBC TV shows like I'm just trying to think of the Jane McDonald show that she was on. It was various different, you know, Jane McDonald and Friends was one of the shows that she was on. And she's done so much stuff that, you know, it's usually down to me to sing her praises, because she's quite sort of laid back about it. But as you say, it is a musical household. But that's a problem when you're in lockdown and I'm trying to say to her, can you just pipe it down? You know, and even today, you know, I've said to her, look, I'm going on on a call, and it's being recorded, and it's about music, but it's not about them hearing you singing and all the rest of it. So
he's not going to pop her head around the door and go, give us a song or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I just heard the dog go, so I think she's just run out of the house in disgust. I've not invited her on. Yeah.
But again, it's kind of nice that you've got that commonality, isn't it? That the music's the big thing that, you know, that works between the both of you as well. That's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, definitely. You know, music is something she's already always done, and so therefore the house is absolutely, you know, usually banging with loud music, to the point that we've moved house recently and warned the neighbours that they will hear lots of singing, which they're very grateful for. But there's always music on at some level at some point. So and it is good, because, you know, it's a nice distraction. You know, sometimes when I'm listening to my music, then there might be an occasion where I'll hear her starting to sing a song, or she's writing something and she'll be repeating it. That will draw me out of what I'm doing, and take me into that different kind of music.
But it's opening your mind up, isn't it? It's the different types of music, the different genres that are out there, and never sort of passing anything by, and never dismissing it without having a good, you know, listen to it in the first place.
Yeah, I think that's, and it is important. I think you know, I don't like all types of music. I appreciate it, but I do often say to people, you know, that music is like food. You know, you don't always want pizza. You don't always want, you know, steak and chips or whatever it is. You know, there might be other types of food that you want. So therefore, there's other types of music you want at different times. So yeah, but I'll not tell you which music I don't appreciate.
No, that's fine. No.
So,
So who gets the playlist in the car then, if you're out together?
Generally speaking, me. Because it's generally speaking, it's the person in the driving seat that gets the choice. I think that's the rule. That's the rule in our house anyway.
That's the rule in our, that's
if you're in the driver's seat, if you're driving, because usually the person in the passenger seat is snoozing or they're just on the mobile phones or whatever. So yeah, and I tend to do the lion's share of the driving. But you know, if she is driving, then you know she'll put on something. But again, because I appreciate all the same types of music that she likes anyway, and she won't put anything on that's too obscure. And similarly, I wouldn't put, I don't know, Slipknot on or something like that. You know, I would probably, or you know, she appreciates Iron Maiden. Again, she appreciates it more from a musical perspective, so she understands, so you know, the way that it works. So I think she's going to make it. She wants to make an appearance. You can just tell, can't you? You know, but so yeah, she's making an impromptu visit from my wife. So this is my wife, Sue. There you go.
Hi, Sue. How nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, you're making
talking about the music side of things. Yeah,
you're making an impromptu visit on a live webinar. There
this
you go.
Is it.
There you go.
Brilliant.
Well, actually,
be careful, because they might ask you to start singing.
No.
No, I wouldn't do that.
So right, anyway, so back to what I was saying. In terms of you know, in the driver's seat, if you like, you know, as I say, you know, it's usually me that's doing the driving. So but I wouldn't put on someone like Metallica or, you know, as I say, Iron Maiden, she would appreciates anyway. But in terms of the music we'd listen to together, it could be anything from Chicane through to Bon Jovi, or, you know, someone a little bit lighter, so that we can both enjoy it and sing along.
That's about it, isn't it? It's about having a bit of fun together and singing along, as you say. I normally get told, you're not putting that crap on again. But there you go.
Yeah. No, she's very tolerant of the music that I enjoy, and she, you know, there might be times where she will tolerate a certain album for a while, and then she'll go, "Can we have something different on? Can we?" You know, and at that point, that's her way of saying, "Right, I've had enough of that now. Put something on we both enjoy."
Yeah, absolutely. Well, brilliant. Listen, Gary, we'll wrap it up there. But thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed doing it.
You know, you'll have to give Sue now due credit for appearing.
I will have to put her. I should put some. She's back again. She's back again.
Yeah, she does it all the time. I tell you. It's only because of the fact she's only doing it to me because of the fact that when she's on stage, so on occasion I have been known to run on stage. So she's just photobombing this.
I was just thinking she was a shy retiring type, but clearly
being married to me, being shy and retiring. Can you imagine?
I'm thinking shrinking violet, but clearly,
yeah. Well, me, I'm the shrinking violet. I'm the one who's quiet and shy.
Brilliant. Well, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, Gary, it's best place to be on LinkedIn.
Yes, definitely.
And we'll be sending an email out today or tomorrow with a link to this recording, which will be going up on YouTube, and we'll put a link into your LinkedIn profile as well, so people can hook up with you. But I say thanks for taking the time out. I know you've been on a busy day today, and hope you've enjoyed it. It's been good to have a chat with you. No,
it's been great. No, thanks ever so much.
And thanks for joining us, Richard. Anyone else who's watching it, drop us a comment on the LinkedIn post, which we'll put out next month rather. I'm chatting to Sarah Valentine Bull about her love of music as well, so look out for that. That'll be dropping through your inbox if you sign up to the series, and also on LinkedIn and social media and so on. But again, thanks, Gary, for your time. Really appreciate it, and we'll catch up with everyone soon. Cheers, guys. Take care.
Definitely. Take care. Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.